Gnmta.
Doing all for the health of all.
Initially, I didn't know that this conference is more or less a parliament house. Honorable members of noble profession.
Yeah.
Honorable members of the noble profession.
Yeah.
That's good. I think we have a vision, and that vision must be pursued. The Deputy Honorable Minister of Health in absentia, the Chairman for the occasion, Dr. Baku Asante Krobia, and then the Chairman for the Eastern Region, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association, the National President of Gnmta, dear delegates, the media, ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols duly observed. Mr. Chairman, let me first thank the National Executive of Gnmta for extending this invitation to me to address the 28th Annual Delegate Conference of the Association under the theme, Positive Attitudinal Change, a vital tool for the government, trainee nurses, and midwives in promoting health as a human rights approach. I'm grateful and humble. This 28th conference, which signifies redemption, that is the number 20, and new beginning, the number 8, will rank in history not only for Gnmta, but also other associations as a trailblazer and audacity for change to give new life of hope to yourselves and generations yet unborn. Today is the 21st September, the birthday of the first president of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, which is celebrated as such by our nation. But the day has also been agreed to be used to celebrate the founders of our nation. This conference has been designed and planned by nature and chance to give birth punch of positive attitudinal change, not only for Gnmta, but also for the government and citizens towards nation building. Mr. Chairman, history and common sense have taught us the improbability for the effort of one person to found a nation, especially in Ghana, where history tells us about the bond of 6th of March 1844 by our traditional leaders. We've also had the Big Six coming together in August 1947 as the first elite political leaders. Traditional leadership agitation since 1873, and particularly for nationwide boycott of foreign goods by Ni Babunaboni III on the 12th of January 1948, and subsequently the 28th February 1948 crossroad shootings are pointers of recognition of sustained momentum for our independence on 6th of March 1957. This old idea with negative attitudes by our political elites, born out of not good judgment, must change positively for the recognition of our heroes towards nation building in order for us to long endure as one people, one nation, with one destiny. Let us be guided by what Dr. Nkrumah stated about the vision and purpose of the motion of destiny in 1953 at the British House of Commons. And I quote, "Our battles shall be against the old ideas that keep men trammelled in their own greed, against the crass stupidities that breed hatred, fear, and inhumanity. The heroes of our future will be those who can lead our people out of the stifling fog of disintegration through self-help into the valley of light where purpose, endeavor, and determination will create that brotherhood which Christ proclaimed 2,000 years ago, and about which so much is said, but so little is done. Unquote. Today, Mr. Chairman, Gnmta has added her name as one of the new heroes that Dr. Nkrumah dreamt of 65 years ago. Mr. Chairman, there are generations in every nation that seems to have lost its sense of purpose and who are out of touch with the values, morals, and convictions that build strong families, secure communities, healthy societies, and prosperous nations, as noted by Miles Monroe, an international speaker and advisor. Our generation, Mr. Chairman, may be losing our sense of purpose. This makes the theme authentically appropriate in an era where there is political confusion, ideological frustration, social unrest, economic uncertainty, moral bankruptcy, institutionalized corruption, disillusionment with religion, and institutions long held sacred are crumbling under the weight of social pressure. Mr. Chairman, Gnmta, by the theme, is calling the entire nation to take a deep introspection of this negative, settled or settling way of thinking or feeling towards ourselves and our country. Gnmta is calling for us to become different or rearrange our sense of purpose as a people. I do agree with Gnmta, and I gave my heart for the national executives narrowing such introspection to Gnmta and government to come to the realization that their common object in promoting health is not a secluded privilege by both respectively, but it is also a human rights issue that civilized citizens demand authentically. Mr. Chairman, I am not in any way qualified to explain what nursing entails to Gnmta or GRNMA. However, the Florence Nightingale's pledge gives the positive attitude expected from a professional nurse. The nurse sacrifices his or her life, is professional, honest, caring, loyalty, loving, and secretive about available patients' record. When it comes to saving lives within the various medical professions, Mr. Chairman, the role of nurses and midwives is about 80% due to prolonged hours they spend with patients. Mr. Chairman, why the 80%? I'm not in any way saying other professionals in the medical services are not important. Nurses endangered their lives to save patients, especially with dangerous communicable diseases like Ebola, TB, etc. Honest in administering drugs, even to rivals, caring to give hope to patients, loyal to doctors' instructions, and caring about patients' conditions. Nurses can mediate for alternative, better solutions to patients' conditions. The amount of time spent with patients is an indication for the love nurtured in nurses, and professionally to keep secret of the medical workers, of even a spouse snatcher. That is the paradoxical professionalism of nurses and midwives. Mr. Chairman, delegates of Gnmta, and fellow Ghanaians, let's get this understanding about who a government is and position in dealing with governments and their appointees. A government is an agency to administer public policies in the interest of we, the masses, who are the principals. What I'm reiterating is that when you see a government, it is you, the sovereignty in you that is given to that person to become president. And that person exercises, or the government exercises, that sovereignty in coming out with policy that should be in your interest. Are you getting me? And so they are agents, and we are what? The principal. That is the leadership ambiguity when it comes to governments and people. So let's get this understanding right. Therefore, a government, Mr. Chairman, a government is therefore a trusted privilege mandated by the citizens or the voters. Never have permanent friends with any government or political party, but take note very well. Always have permanent pursuit of reasonable interests. Always have permanent pursuit of reasonable interests. The underlying word is that you must always protect your interests, but your interests must be reasonable. Take note, that is how politicians are. They are always interested about what is coming to them. Have you ever seen that they've ever reduced their salaries in parliament or anywhere? Have you ever seen that whenever they are fighting, when it comes to loan, you see all of them laughing together? Is that not it? So you must always guide against your interest. That is the most important thing. If you understand that, then the politicians will always do that which you require and which is your reasonable interest that you must always protect. This explanation is very dear to my heart, not to you as Gnmta alone, but to the rest of the nation. That is the only means that we can get the politicians do what we want, and not after they've gotten power, they want to do anything that they like in our country. Abraham Lincoln, in his famous Gettysburg Address, affirmed democracy as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, in quotes. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have a democratic government that is not willing to deal with your reasonable interests, even if your father or mother is the president, vote against that president and the government. Mr. Chairman, with all fairness, we need to give credit where it is due to the government of NPP led by His Excellency Gnmta. The President demonstrated courage in restoring the nursing training allowance, which was bizarrely cancelled by the NDC government led by the voted out former President Mahama. This restoration is excellent, but our nurses deserve distinction, for nothing compares with life. I know that from the President's speech, he mentioned about the fact that about 6 to 7 months they've not received their allowance. I think we need to pick it up again. But the truth of the matter is that money, I'm not in the government, but I know that there's no money. But our governments are always to tell the truth that there's no money and come out with plans, they always want to use Patapara. Mr. Chairman, when the frustrated national executives of Gnmta brought the matter to my office to fulfill my campaign promise to support them by leading them through demonstrations to hammer home their grievances, I took the opportunity to demonstrate a new philosophy of political opposition for development, rather than for populism, disintegration, and destruction of the well-being of the masses. We don't need to act politically in order for people to suffer. Whenever we are acting politically as opposition or in government, it must be towards developing our nation, building our nation, and developing people. That must be an essence. It's not about encouraging people to hit the streets, and at the end of the day, they will sweat, drink a lot of water, and they will go home empty, and there's no results. That we should not allow politicians to always manipulate us in that manner. Mr. Chairman, within 48 hours, one of the matured advisors to the President, Dr. Koforidua, had arranged for the national executives to meet the President, and the nurses' allowance was restored within 14 days by the President, His Excellency Gnmta. This was achieved because the facts were presented to a listening President. Whilst on one hand, the positive attitude demonstrated by Dr. Koforidua and the President, His Excellency Gnmta, is worth emulating by any government official and president of any nation. On the other hand, the role played by myself as the only credible opposition leader, that is the independent presidential candidate, to counsel the nursing executives to straighten up their thoughts, and the national executives believing in the council yielded the results which demonstration would have failed to achieve amicably. Our agreement or disagreement as political opponents should engender better way of achieving progressive development of our people and country. That is the appropriatism political ideology of independent or non-partisan governing system. The raising of the nurses' allowance, which was rightly executed, is a demonstration of competence in understanding the quantification of work done by nurses as part of their training. It can only take a government that is incompetent of its agency role, greed in taking the crumbs from the masses and usurper Patapara to revoke such an allowance. It should never happen, and you should never sit down for this to happen. Mr. Chairman, let me take this opportunity to clarify the difference between training schools and educational schools in order to help address the remaining three issues. We all attend educational schools to receive intellectual instructions of many disciplines, and to improve our critical thinking capabilities, and we tend to become versatile in many orientations. In most cases, after our education, we get trained on the jobs. That is how it is. You are educated, maths, physics, social, whatever, you come out with a degree and so on and so forth. However, Mr. Chairman, a training school is established to teach a particular skill to persons. That is the difference. A particular skill to the persons. So we have nursing training, we have teacher training, we have drivers training, etc. What that means is that if you do not have vacancy for that particular skills, why spend money to make the person idle? If, as a nation, we think that we don't need nurse, then we should close out all the nursing training, and then we know that we don't need nurse. But that is not the case. And so far as we need nurse, we need to train them qualitatively, and whatever thing that they deserve, we must give to them. Mr. Chairman, a good example is with the security forces. After most students have completed their respective qualified education, they got recruited in the military, police, immigration, fire service, etc. Have you ever heard that after the police or military training, the recruits are sent back home to wait until there's a vacancy to be employed? Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that? Definitely no, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is what the governments are failing to appreciate. So why train teachers and especially nurses with the scarce resources of our country only to be sent home to idle away the skills? It doesn't make sense at all. Mr. Chairman, my heart bled when a renowned but confused economist, as usual of our country, advised the president to halt the allowances of nurses and teachers and rather channel those resources into technical and vocational education. What he suggested, Mr. Chairman, is called wealth redistribution and not wealth creation that economists sought to propound. As an economist, he failed to see, as usual, that trained nurses and teachers are the real economic fundamentals which, one become weak, your symptomatic economic index of exchange rates will expose you. Most of our economists in our country, the macroeconomic indices, that is inflation, unemployment, depreciation, the exchange rates, they call it the fundamentals. But when we talk about fundamentals, we are talking about foundation. Now, because I'm dealing with you nurses, I think it will make sense. When someone has malaria, that person will have the symptoms of headache, high temperatures, and fever. Am I lying? If the person comes to you and you give the person paracetamol, the headache will subside, isn't it? But the malaria parasite will still be what? There. And no sooner than later, the same symptoms will begin again. And if you don't take care, it will worsen. Am I lying? If you really want to deal with the symptoms of the headache and things like that, you normally tell us that we need to go to the lab, and then from the lab results, we need to tackle the malaria parasite. Now, that malaria parasite is the foundation of that malaria. And when that one is dealt with, the headache, the fever, and then the high temperatures will go. But our economists always concentrate on the symptoms of depreciation, high exchange rate, unemployment, to say that the economy is not good. Meanwhile, if they had realized that the human beings and the natural resources that this nation has been endowed with is the economic fundamentals, and their transformation and their development is what will change the state of our depreciation and exchange rate. Ghana must have grown long ago, but they will always continue to advise. Let me take this opportunity to also advise the President and the government not to destroy nurses and teachers' quality training in order to build TVETs. That is why new governments sack other political appointees and replace them with new ones, and deceivingly play the ostriches of creating new jobs. This is voodoo economics. I just don't want, I have not written it, but I just want Professor Stephen Ade to understand this and retract his statement that the government should stop the nurses and training allowance. That is why I've taken my time. Mr. Chairman, the current ratio of nurses to patients is 1:18. I had it at 1:22, but when you mentioned 1:18, I just cancelled that. The recent one. Good. Good, that is excellent. And the World Health Organization, WHO standard is 1:5. So the gap for nurses of Ghana's population of 27 million Ghanaians is 3.9 million, using the 1:18 that you've just given me. So Ghana needs 3.9 million nurses in order to close the standard set by the World Health Organization. There is wisdom, Mr. Chairman, and justification to therefore bond the nurses after spending on their training to be employed immediately to continually close the gap on yearly basis like the security forces. The bonding of nurses should be similar to the security forces and must be handled as a matter of national security for the safety and well-being of Ghanaians. Mr. Chairman, the current dispensation of free senior high school by the NPP government is understandably in line with industrialization of human beings, who are the real fundamentals, not macroeconomic indicators, of every economy, in addition to the natural resources endowed in the nation. The economic experts must propound a new way for effective consumption of the services of nurses, both local and foreign, in order to create wealth for Ghana. Professional and qualified nurses as economic fundamentals can be negotiated in a bilateral relationship with other developed partners. We can export nurses to these countries, and each nurse can be deducted $300 per month at an average salary of $3,000, and this translates into $97.2 million annually for 27,000 nurses who are unemployed. This can build about 27 district hospitals every year at a true value of $3 million each. It is indeed, Mr. Chairman, despicable to see nurses picketing and demonstrating for unemployment. Mr. Chairman, my attention has been drawn to the precarious state of the 2016 batch of the Nurse Assistant Clinical NAC and the Nurse Assistant Preventive NAC. This batch became victims of unfair and confused policy of the Mahama-led government, but determinedly completed their training without allowance, which is a form of sacrifice that would require compensation, sort of. However, the 2016 batch has not yet been employed because technically they were not funded. The Nana Addo-led government has taken the right decision on Gnmta, and I would personally encourage the government to ratify the incompetent raised by the NDC government, especially by employing the 2016 batch of the NAC and NAP. Mr. Chairman, it is gratifying that the Minister of Health recently announced the employment of over 14,000 Gnmta members out of the 27,000 unemployed. This indeed is heartwarming and a positive attitudinal change. But like the proverbial Oliver Twist, we ask for more to complete the outstanding unemployed nurses. Whilst we hope to witness the employment, we hope, and I hope that it's not going to be that continuous postponement of we will do and will not do, but at least that we will do alone will sometimes soften your anger. It's better than hate, but it is not good. I will suggest that the Ministry of Health taps into the years of expertise of the National Service Secretariat to improve the administration of postings and timely payment of rotational nurses. I think that you can take it up to the National Service and the Mr. Chairman, Gnmta delegates, life is give and take, with a purpose of reasonability on both sides. I would equally want to see a fair understanding from Gnmta to also extend a hand of objectivity in complementing the government's efforts to normalize issues created by the previous government. The mutual respect and understanding and being realistic in our proposal will go a long way in building our country. No one can build Ghana except Ghanaians, and it is our inalienable right by government and all stakeholders to do so. Mr. Chairman, I am personally biased towards nurses and medical professionals. In 1999, it's on a personal note. In 1999, it took the bold initiative by a senior nursing officer, currently principal nursing officer, by name Mrs. Regina Jube at Koforidua Teaching Hospital, to switch doctors at midnight in order to save my life at a very critical and delicate life-threatening moment when my HP was as low as 2. So medically, I was dead. That is what I understand. That if your HP as a man is at 7, then you have 50% chance of surviving. Mine went to as low as 2, but I was still alive. And it took this initiative for this nurse. And I understand, I was asking that the nurse cannot do that. But the nurse boldly said that it is hey, and then 2 doctors came and they switched over, and I was handed to another one. That is what a caring nurse can do. When I was admitted at C7, that is at Koforidua, and Regina, the nurse, was first attending to me and was searching for my veins for infusion and could not find any. I saw tears flowing through her eyes. I, a dying patient, had to console her not to shed tears, for I will not die, I told her. There was another nurse the late Mrs. Anita Opon Ajiman, who used to hold my hands daily to pray for me and to cover my nakedness in moments of my agony that I wish I had died. I went into coma for 2 days, had about 72 infusions and 4 pints of blood, and I spent 6 months fighting for my life with nurses and doctors' support. Anita, Mr. Chairman, Anita, the other nurse, later passed on in labor at Cape Coast Hospital in the hands of her own colleague nurses, negligence, uncaring, undue delay, and unprofessionalism, who did not know she was a nurse herself. That is how such precious lives are lost in the hands of nurses and midwives with negative attitudes that are at variance with the pledge of Florence Nightingale. Dr. Operation, a physician specialist at Koforidua Teaching Hospital, took over my case from a doctor who virtually had already declared me a useless case before Regina's caring initiative and resolute to press on that doctor to hand over my case to Dr. Operation, whom she believed would do a better job. This indeed was a very useful breach of protocol. By the grace of the Almighty God, through His Son Jesus Christ, I am alive to share the gifting of life with the nation. Nothing, and I say nothing, can absolutely be compared with life. Mr. Chairman, we must therefore not lose hope, but consciously resolute to carve out a master plan for integrated emergency medical services, which is badly lacking in the current medical delivery service for complementary improvement services for our country. The integrated emergency medical services will comprise of ambulance assembly plants to support ambulance services as well as communication systems for modernized emergency service units with state-of-the-art equipment dotted strategically across the country with well-trained paramedics by international standards. This will involve helicopter medical services, and the services can be procured through well-structured health insurance system. I will urge the government to take a critical look at this advanced medical delivery service and invite the relevant stakeholders to discuss its implementation. This can be implemented via private-public partnership ventures. Surely, this can be another source of employment for our Gnmta members. Mr. Chairman, with such improved health systems within knowledge-based society, however, places a huge obligatory demand on nurses and health professionals with respect to their responsibilities and accountability. Gnmta members and the government must begin to adapt the human rights issues related to health. The World Health Organization stipulates that, quote, understanding health as a human right creates a legal obligation on states to ensure access to timely, acceptable, and affordable health care of appropriate quality, as well as providing for the underlying determinants of health, such as safe and potable water, sanitation, food, housing, health-related information and education, and gender equality, unquote. As we become more civilized and respect the lives of people, The legalities will be minimized and professionalism by nurses and health professionals become positively reinforced. And the future will have no option for nurses with negative attitudes to patients and professionalism. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I began my keynote address by stating that the 28th Gnmta conference is akin to audacity for change, to give new life of hope to yourselves and generations yet unborn. Because the invitation is audacious. For hardly can an association that is so dependent on the government for allowance and employment would dare invite the most credible opposition leader to give a keynote address on change. The invitation is historic and rightly defines your training of recovering life of a people or nation, as your dynamic national executives have shifted the paradigm from political parties leadership to non-partisan leadership or independent presidents. Your ostensibly salutation to myself as His Excellency Osei Yeboah, I'm not yet, and so under normal circumstances, I shouldn't be addressed as His Excellency. But ostensibly, that was how I was addressed. And this generated lots of intellectual discourses on social media, for which was interpreted as the attitudinal change of Gnmta to give new hope of life to the governance of this nation, like France to His Excellency Emmanuel Macron. Gnmta, Mr. Chairman, Gnmta is holding the key to unlock the governing life, and more importantly, accentuating your refusal to be treated as pendulum between MPP and NDC from 2020. Indeed, Gnmta has answered and given the solution to the leadership vacuum heartbeat of Ghanaians. For 2020 election is the second independence in the shortest possible time from our neo-colonial masters, which are ostensibly the political parties, especially the MPP and the NDC. Mr. Chairman, Gnmta delegates, invited guests, the press corps, ladies and gentlemen. To conclude, let me counsel that the future holds brighter prospects for professionals in the various disciplines towards nation building that is to be announced. My life experience with the health professionals that I've shared with you today has taught me a great lesson of optimism for a better Ghana. Irrespective of how Ghana's life vitality is being eaten away with greed and unbridled corruption, like a cancer patient whose HP is as low as 2 and medically has the tiniest hope to life, we can still survive the current hardship in the country brought about by the negative attitudes of politicians and a few powerful key stakeholders of our sovereignty. But with positive attitudes from nurses like Regina and the late Gnmta and doctors like Osei, the life vitality of Ghana can be restored so that she can play her destiny role in the affairs of Africa for greater impact in humanity for the world at large. Mr. Chairman, for indeed positive attitudinal change is a panacea for a healthy working environment for Gnmta and the government. I will summarize my keynote address with the same counsel I gave the government and the Ghana Medical Association during their prolonged impasse in 2011, captured in my book entitled The Next President of Ghana. And I quote, "The actions and inactions from both doctors and government should give meaning to the value both place on human life. Hence, today and similarly, and on to Gnmta, the actions and inactions from both nurses and midwives and government should give meaning to the value both parties place on human life. The government should release the dues of Gnmta to the executives to enable them play their functions effectively with interest. I will pursue this with the government. That is a positive attitude that must be demonstrated by the government after this conference. This is a new way of opposition. It's not about when you sit down with them, you fight. I define democracy in my book as war of ideas fought with the weapons of rule of law. So just sit down with them, war with them intellectually, and when they are defeated, they will accept it, and then it will bring improvement to all of us. Mr. Chairman, before I resume my seat, may I take this opportunity to congratulate the national executives and the organizers on this occasion of 28th Gnmta Conference, which I have done. It has audacity for change. And more especially to your renowned patron and president of Gnmta, Dr. Koforidua, and a comparatively reasonable government led by His Excellency Nanado. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Long live Ghana. Long live Gnmta. Long live health professionals. May God bless our nation and help us grow a creative political opposition towards national development. Thank you.